Hi, I'm Jenny.
And I'm Alexa.
And we're back with another edition of Checked Out. This week, we're reading Inside of a Dog by Alexandra Horowitz. And it's a bit of a departure from the last couple of books we've read. This is actually nonfiction. And Alexandra Horowitz is one of my favorite, I guess what you'd call science writers, because she writes primarily about dogs.
Mm-hmm. This was the first time that I had actually read anything by Alexandra Horowitz. I really enjoyed it. I guess we should say at the outset, there are actually two editions of this book. There is a juvenile copy, and there is an adult version of the book with just slightly edited content, I guess. The library does have both copies, so whichever version you would prefer to read, we can get you hooked up.
Yeah, the cool thing is the adult version. She writes. She has really nice prose, and she writes very well, and it makes it kind of feel like you're not so much reading a heavy book with lots of facts thrown at you, but reading like a really nice kind of examination of the dog. And so for the juvenile book, she just kind of cuts out some of the hard science stuff, and I think maybe tones down the prose just a little bit. But still lots of great stuff for, like upper elementary to middle school age kids who love dogs. This would be a great book for them to read.
Right, it really is. And one thing that she does in both editions, she inserts a lot of personal stories about her own dogs.
Yeah.
Which I think anybody would enjoy.
Totally. If you're a dog person, she's got some great works out there for you. We've actually got some really fun things in store for this book. Alexa and I got to take a field trip out to the Humane Society and interview Ashley Markham, their special events coordinator. And Ashley is going to give us a lot of background info on the Lexington Humane Society, kind of give us a little play-by-play of what all the work that they do. And I was just amazed. I don't know about you, but I was just amazed to hear about all of the really cool things that they did. And even as somebody who, has dogs and has always had dogs and has gotten dogs from the Humane Society before, I had no idea they did all of that stuff.
Right. And I mean, there was the added bonus of getting to go out to the facilities and see all of the cute animals that they have there.
Absolutely.
We got to meet their very adorable little, I guess you would call them ambassadors to the Humane Society.
Dogs,
yes.
Yeah.
Winston and Newman. They're so cute. And we got to meet a squirrel.
Yeah.
We just narrowly missed some of the pigs that they had up for adoption.
I know. I was really bummed about that.
But, I mean, the Humane Society in Lexington just does such great work.
Yeah, and if you're a listening person to the Humane Society who names the animals, good job. Those pigs had some amazing names. Conway Piggy, and they made me happy.
Yes.
And then on July 15th at the East Side branch, we're going to have, we're calling it the Dog Days of Summer, but you can come out. The Humane Society will be there with dogs. We're going to have a drop-in craft in the makerspace. Come, drop in, and make your own dog treats. And there'll even be a special story time in the children's department. If you've got kids, bring them, and Miss Allison will read them a story all about dogs. So we're really looking forward to that as well.
Yes.
Do you want to jump into the book?
Absolutely.
So one of the cool things that she does is she jumps in and talks about sort of the history of dogs and how they were domesticated and how they're sort of like wolves but not like wolves. And one of the things that she talks about that I just found really fascinating was this experiment they did in Siberia with like white foxes. Mm-hmm. They basically domesticated them and within a couple of generations kind of created dogs.
Yeah. So she talks a lot about a bunch of different kind of experiments throughout history that have happened with dogs over the years, like some that she's done herself just kind of casually. And then there was this one with the foxes, which is just amazing. Like you know that domesticated dogs came from wolves, and you understand kind of the evolutionary process that led to dogs. And we found these traits that we liked, and we kind of selectively bred the wolves to get dogs. You just don't, or I didn't realize just how quickly that can happen. I mean, it was literally a matter of holding out food. If a fox would take the food from you, that's the fox that you breed.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of the fox not being afraid.
Of their puppies, you take the ones, again, that are friendliest, and then you breed those. And then within a couple generations, you've got basically tiny white furry puppies.
It's amazing.
And you can do the opposite, and you can breed that out of them within a couple generations, which is just really fascinating to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then she also talked about some of the differences between wolves and dogs. Wolves do not read our eyes. Dogs do. Mm-hmm. And that was really fascinating to me. Not just our eyes, our body language. Dogs sort of survived and domesticated by really learning to read humans. And they can read us better than we can read them, which I found really fascinating.
Right. I didn't realize that wolves don't meet eyes.
Yeah.
Like, wolves will not look at somebody directly in their eyes. That's a sign of aggression for a wolf. But for dogs, like, they basically had to learn to do that to survive with humans. I was mentioning before, I have an adopted dog named Lucy, who is half rat terrier, half miniature schnauzer. She's very obnoxious, and she weighs 8 pounds, and she thinks she's gigantic and really scary. And anytime I take her outside, won't meet my eyes for anything. Because I honestly, after reading this book, I think it's because, like Jenny was saying before, she is from 2 breeds of dogs that were bred to do very specific and isolated tasks, catch rats. It's like, she doesn't need me for that. Why would she look at me and figure out what I want when she's outside and following smells? That was really what I enjoyed most about this book, was just reading anything and then looking at Lucy immediately and just trying to apply it to my dog.
Yeah, it's totally fascinating. And how when dogs greet us when we get home and they're really excited to see us and they lick us and we think, oh, they're giving kisses. Yes, and that it's a greeting. It is a thing wolves do. They lick one another upon return to greet them, but they also do it because they want to know what that wolf has eaten and if they can get it to regurgitate some food for them. So when your dog licks you, they're happy to see you, but they're also hoping that you have a meal that you can, like, regurgitate for them. So yeah, not gonna happen, pups. I got news for you.
That was one of my favorite parts of the book. She's just like, don't be grossed out. But wolf puppies, when they lick you on the face, they do it to their mothers because they want food.
Yeah,
like,
essentially.
That's what your dog wants.
Essentially.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so much stuff that I've owned dogs my entire life. My mother is big into rescues. Your mom is too. So I've had a rescue dog in my home my entire life, basically. And I have one now. And it's just stuff that even as a perpetual dog owner, I would never have considered. I mean, she talks about leaving treats hidden around her house every day based on, like, if she's going to be gone a really long time, she'll leave even more treats to keep her dog occupied and, like, give her a job to do while she's gone. And it's just like, I love my dog, but that thought never even crossed my mind that she would need puzzles to solve while I was out of the house.
Yeah, we have 2 dogs, and one of them is a senior citizen, a senior beagle mix who could care less. I could leave treats all over the house, and she would, other than being hungry and wanting to find them to eat them because she's very food motivated, she would prefer really just to sleep. She's pretty lazy. But then we have a pit bull mix who's just about a year, and he has all the energy in the world, and he does have to be constantly challenged mentally, or else he does get bored, and then he goes and eats something he shouldn't, and we're going, why am I missing one shoe? Oh, Campbell ate it, that sort of thing. So you have to make sure you have appropriate chews and stuff out for him when you leave the house. Stuff a lot of Kongs. Those Kongs are great. To keep a dog engaged. And I didn't realize, too, that when you do stuff like that, when you stuff food in a toy like that and they have to work to get it out, it's exercise for them mentally, and that sometimes can wear them out just as much as physical exercise can.
Mm-hmm. We tried a couple of those toys. We had a Bark Box for a while, which is a subscription service that you can get that gives you different kind of treats and toys and things for your dogs each month. We got it for Christmas, and it had one of those kind of puzzle things where it's like you hide a treat in it and see if your dog... Lucy is just so unmotivated by food, and it's just like she has no interest whatsoever in solving any sort of puzzle. She doesn't like food enough to care, really. It's just so interesting to me. I've never known a dog who's as just uninterested in food as my dog is.
That's how my dachshund mix was.
Yeah.
She was very motivated by, like, chasing small furry things in the yard, but that was about it. But that makes sense, for her breed.
Yeah.
Dachshunds were meant to chase badgers and flesh out stuff, and so that's what she, wanted to do was go out in the yard and chase squirrels.
Yeah. My dog's motivated by potato peelings. I don't know why. She loves them. I Googled it. It's safe. As long as you don't give her the eyes. But anytime I pull out the potato peeler, she knows the exact sound of a potato peeler, and she will come running from whichever spot she is at in the house, and she will just sit by my feet until I give her potato peels for her to chew on.
It's so funny. And
it's weird.
And she talks a little bit, Alexandra Horowitz talks a little bit about that, stuff like that in the book about how dogs learn and how they learn by association. And it is fascinating to me. I mean, her whole part of the book is what she calls dogs. I want to call it umwelt, but I don't think that's the correct pronunciation. But kind of what it's like to be a dog, what they see and smell and hear. And they smell so well. They have they sort of see the world through their nose, and how that affects what they do and how they learn. And And she did talk a lot about how positive reinforcement is really the most effective type of dog training. And anytime you yell at a dog or fuss at a dog, it just doesn't really seem to work.
Right. That was another of the experiments that she mentioned in the book was she did this one herself. And so basically she found dog owners and they would leave out a piece of food and reach for the dog. And then they would leave the room and say, don't eat the treat. And then they would leave the room. If the dog ate the treat or didn't eat the treat, whenever the owner came back, she would either tell the owner what they did exactly and the owner would punish or praise them accordingly, or she would lie and say that, oh, your dog ate the treat when really it didn't, or vice versa, just to see the dog's reactions. And so it didn't matter whether the dog was guilty or not. If they were punished, they reacted in the exact same way. They did that kind of quintessential guilty dog expression that you always see in videos on the internet, where it's just kind of like bowed head and they wag kind of nervously. And it's not that the dog knows that they did something wrong necessarily. It's because they're reacting to you being displeased with them. The dog knows when you're upset with them, not that they've done something wrong.
Yeah. It's kind of like if you come home and find that your dog has destroyed the house or peed in the floor, yelling at your dog's not really going to do anything because it could be hours since they've done it.
Exactly.
And they don't understand. All they know is you're mad, but they don't know why. So
exactly.
That's the best way to train your dog is to keep them from getting into trouble and then, kind of put them in a situation to not act up, basically.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize when they get a dog is just the sheer time that it takes to train a dog correctly.
It takes a lot of work.
Because, I mean, a lot of training is just being with your dog.
Absolutely.
And rewarding them when they're doing what you want them to do.
Absolutely.
It's just so much. That's one of those things where it's like, I grew up with just untrained dogs. Like, let the dogs do whatever they want, and that's fine. And we lived out in the country, and it's no big deal. But whenever you live in a house and you're by yourself and you've got the one dog and you have to take them on walks, you want them to be, like, moderately trained. Like, you want your dog to behave and not embarrass you in front of the neighborhood, which Lucy still does regularly. We try our best, but she's very willful. But I mean, it's just, you have to just be there constantly to reinforce the good behavior. It's not just saying, no, don't do that, because your dog doesn't get it. They don't understand.
No, and it's kind of funny because we had two seniors for a very long time. Both, one is now almost 12 and the other one was 17 or 18, both rescues, so we're not sure of exact age, but the oldest passed away this year, and we got a young dog to replace her. We got about a year old. Campbell's about a year old, and has clearly never been through any kind of training before. And he's really good, and he's really eager to please, but it's constant reinforcing the good and redirecting him when he starts to get into something he shouldn't, and yeah, it is exhausting. Sometimes I'm not sure which is more work, the puppy or the toddler.
Well, at least they get along.
They do. That's true. And both dogs, of course, are good with the kids, and we never leave them, alone unsupervised. So those are the keys there.
Well, that was one of the things that we talked about when we went to the Lexington Humane Society was the rigorous kind of rules that they have for when you're adopting with a baby or a toddler in the house, which I wasn't aware of. But, I mean, it's things that you don't really think about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just things that you they want to put you in a position to succeed. Mm-hmm. So I think, if you go and they, you say you want a certain dog and they tell you that wouldn't be a good fit for you, don't get turned off by that because they really do know those dogs so well. I know when our dog passed away and we went looking and we told them exactly what we wanted and we had a very long list of things we needed in a dog, and they had two candidates they picked out for us, and one happened to be adoption pending already, so we picked up the other guy, and he's been great. But he's great because they knew the dog. They knew him. They knew his personality, and they knew what would fit in with our family, and it's been a great match.
Right. I mean, trust the people at the Humane Society, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Ashley will talk more about this program in her interview that we're going to get to in just a minute. But if you want a specific breed of dog, the Humane Society's got them. Mm-hmm. And they have a whole program called First Contact, and you can say, I want Basset Hound. And, I want it to be a certain age, and I want it to be a certain gender, and when they get one, you will be the first person they call.
Right.
And, you may have to wait a little while, but they'll get one in for you. So.
Yeah. If it's worth it to you that you want that specific breed of dog,
right,
then it should be worth it, I think, to participate in the program.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the two dogs that we met, the two canine ambassadors, were both purebred dogs, a purebred Dachshund and a purebred Doberman, and both were Humane Society alumni. So don't think if you've got some sort obviously mutts are great, and I wholeheartedly support getting a mutt, but if you think that you want a specific breed, don't think you can't get it at the Humane Society, because you can.
Exactly. And I will say as well, I'm a big fan of mutts. My childhood dog, who passed away a couple of years ago, at 18 or 19, we think, she was a mutt. She was half Sheltie, half Corgi, which is maybe the cutest mix of dogs ever. Little Corgi body with tons and tons of fluffy Sheltie hair. And I mean, she was incredible. She was just so healthy, and she lived such a long and just good quality life. That's one of the things that's touched on a little bit in this book, is how great mutts are, first of all, which is very true. But they're just healthy. They're just a lot healthier. Whenever you breed purebred dogs, I mean, they kind of, the traits get more and more concentrated.
Yeah.
And you'll see that a lot in, like, snub-nosed dogs, like pugs or bulldogs, where they have breathing troubles, or dachshunds can have back problems.
Absolutely.
Because you breed for those specific traits that you want the dog to have. And so over time, they get so exacerbated that the dog they can get unhealthy.
Absolutely. And we've gone from a society where we bred dogs to do certain jobs to a society where a lot of times we're breeding dogs to fit a standard that's based on looks. And so sometimes, if you kind of go to an unscrupulous breeder, you can end up with a dog that's been bred to look like what you think of when you think of a Dachshund, but maybe has some health problems that it wouldn't have had if they were breeding it, to be a working dog.
Exactly.
So, one of the things I thought really fascinating, our new dog Campbell was labeled pit mix, as tons of dogs at shelters across the country are labeled pit mix.
Right.
And it's such a generic term because there is no real breed pit bull. There's the American Pit Bull Terrier, American Staffordshire Terrier, American Bulldog, and sometimes a few other breeds are kind of lumped into the term pit bull. But shelters kind of use that term to describe any dog with a big blocky head. And you can have a dog that a shelter has labeled a pit bull, and there may not be any pit bull in it whatsoever. It could be shepherd and other things, and it just sort of lab, and that's how it got its big head. So we don't really know what Campbell is.
Right.
He looks like a pit bull, but who knows what's in there. So
he's got such pretty markings.
He's gorgeous. He's a pretty dog. I'm biased, but I think he's gorgeous. So it really, breed is only part of it. Really you want to make sure that the dog's personality and its temperament really, really fit you. I know my mom's got a long-haired Chihuahua, and Chihuahuas get a bad rap, but her Chihuahua is the friendliest little thing in the world, and she's my son's best buddy. So you just never can tell. You can't judge a dog by the breed.
Exactly. I mean, our dog kind of is quintessential tiny dog. She barks a lot and everything. But I mean, in the shelter, you would never have known that. It really takes because I think she was a little intimidated by all of the other dogs that she was around. She's not a big fan of other dogs. So she was very quiet. I mean, it takes getting to know an animal. Yeah. And that's why it's so good to rely on people who are in the shelters, because they've spent more time with the animal than you. Just going in to meet an animal one time, you can get a feel for it, and you can kind of understand. But, I mean, that even happened to you a little bit with Campbell, because he was ill when you adopted him.
Yeah, we didn't know that, and the Humane Society didn't know that. He was very calm, and we thought, great, how funny. And I even at one point actually thought, I wonder, this just seems so strange that this very young pit bull puppy would be so calm, because normally, he's about a year, and normally they're still kind of puppies, and they have a lot of energy. And we hadn't had him too long, and he got sick with what we think was either some sort of took a long time, an infection took a long time to crop up, or it was some kind of bug bite that got infected. We're not really sure which. The Humane Society was great. I called them just to get some health records, and they said, bring him in, let's look at him. And, between them and my vet, we got him on the right medicine, and he's great. But the combination of feeling better and then being out of a shelter environment, like, he is a different dog.
Yeah.
All that energy came back, and now he's, my Beagle mix is so sort of lazy and just wants to lay around and not do anything, and always looks a little bit depressed. And then there's Campbell. It's like having Tigger and Eeyore in my house, basically. He's probably the only dog I've ever met that I think actually misses sometimes the shelter, because he misses that pack of dogs to play with. So we have to go to the dog park quite frequently so he can run and romp. And
what a burden,
and play.
having to go to the dog park.
What a darn. Have to go and play with all those puppies.
I would give anything to be able to take Lucy to a dog park. I would love it so much. She's just, and that's that thing where it's just like you have to spend time with a dog to figure out who they are as an individual. Because I mean, the shelter, even though they only had Lucy for like a couple of days, she was very small and cute, and it was just like if we hadn't snatched her up whenever we did, like there's no way she would have lasted very long in there. But they thought that she was just this sweet little timid, just wanted to be held all the time, and it's just like in the mornings when she is in play mode, don't even try and touch her. Like she will not stand for it. She is 100% going like as fast every single morning. Our routine is she wakes up, goes to the bottom of the stairs. Our bedroom is on the second floor, and we have to throw toys repeatedly down the stairs, and she will run them back up the stairs and then run back down after them. It's just like boundless energy, and it's just like you would never have known. Like they only had her for a day or so they didn't really understand.
You guys gotta get her a rat to chase,
right? I mean that's Baby, that's our cat. she just chases Baby all around the house, and he puts up with her, which is nice. Our other two cats who are older are not big fans of Lucy, but she and Baby are really fun. They chase each other around our dining room table, and they have a good time. So
some dogs love cats, some dogs hate cats, some dogs like other dogs, some are very selective about the other dogs they enjoy, and you really never know.
That was the funniest part of adopting Lucy. Whenever we went to get her, we got her from Humane Society that's closer to my hometown in Western Kentucky. But we asked them, is Lucy good with cats? And they're like, oh, we don't really know. We haven't put her in with the cats yet. And then whenever we went to meet her and pick her up and everything, we were just like, did you ever get a chance to see if she's good with cats? And they're like, oh, let's see. And they just took her into the cat room, and they just like put her in a cage with one of the cats. And they were just like, oh, best friends. And she's like, oh, okay, well, she likes that cat, so great.
Usually there's like one or two cats I think that they'll temperament test. Like a cat that's pretty laid back, they'll temperament test just to see what they do.
Right.
I know my mom does rescue with greyhounds, and because she has small dogs, a lot of times people will bring greyhounds over to see if their small dog's safe, because some greyhounds have a hard time differentiating between a very small dog and a rabbit.
Right.
And greyhounds are meant to be, that's what they chase at the track. They chase rabbits. So, so they have to test them with small dogs to make sure the dog knows the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just important to understand what your limitations are as a pet owner going into adopting a dog. Like, what kind of a house do you have? What kind of yard do you have? Do you have small children? Do you have other animals that the dog will be interacting with? I mean, there are just so many variables that go into this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we thank you guys for joining us. Definitely check out Inside of a Dog by Alexandra Horowitz if you want to get more of the sort of the inside view of a dog and what they see, smell, think, know, basically what it's like to be a dog. And check out our interview with Ashley from the Lexington Humane Society, and stop by the Eastside branch on July 15th for our Dog Days of Summer program. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Hi, we're here with Ashley Markham of the Lexington Humane Society. Ashley is the Special Events Coordinator for the Lexington Humane Society, and we're going to talk to her a little bit today about dog adoption, cat adoption, all of your burning questions about adopting an animal from the Lexington Humane Society. So thank you for being with us, Ashley.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So to start off, we were hoping that maybe you could just kind of give us a rundown of what exactly the process for adopting a dog from the Humane Society is.
Sure. So when you come to the Humane Society and you kind of walk through our adoption center, if you see a dog or a cat or any of our other animals, bunnies, guinea pigs, we have all kinds that you're interested in, you can go talk to an adoption specialist. They'll pull the animal out for you. We do require that you spend at least half an hour outside of the kennel or cage with the animal just to make sure that they're the right fit for you and your family. We also asked if you have any other pets. You know, if you have another dog at home and you're looking at adopting another dog, it's really important that you bring that dog with you, you know, at a later date, just to make sure that the two dogs get along. We don't want to send any dog home and, you know, your other friend be upset that you brought somebody new into the house. So once all of that's kind of figured out and you've decided, you know, this is the animal that I want, we do have a short adoption application that you fill out. And then once all of that is cleared, if you live in an apartment, you know, obviously we're going to call your landlord just to make sure that you're allowed to have this pet. We don't want you to go home with an animal you're not allowed to have. But once all of that's cleared and you pay the adoption fee, then that animal is yours, and you just come with a collar and a leash, and they're yours to take home.
Do you have any different restrictions for different types of animals? Like, do you require a fenced-in backyard for all dogs, or you have to show up with a cage for a hamster or something like that?
So for the hamsters, yes, that's a good one. Yeah. We obviously want them to go home in a safe carrying case, like a cage. That's a good one. But as far as the dogs go, they do go through a temperament test. So, you know, for some of our bigger and louder breeds, like our hounds, sometimes they do have restrictions as far as you can't live in an apartment. that sort of thing. So that would just be something that you would partner with one of our adoption specialists with, and they can let you know all of that information about that particular dog that you're looking at.
Okay. Because I know whenever Jenny adopted her dog recently from you guys, it was dogs who jump can't go home with babies.
Right, with small children. I have a 2-year-old, and but it was wonderful because my mom actually scouted for us. She came out and said, here are all of the requirements my daughter and son-in-law are looking for in a dog. And the adoption specialist was like, I got 2 perfect ones for you. And took my mom over, and one of those is my sweet Campbell, who came home with me. So
yeah, that's the great thing about our adoption specialists. They spend so much time with our animals that they really get to know them. And so when you come in and you let them know, like, hey, I'm looking for a smaller dog for my apartment, but I have small kids, they can definitely steer you towards the animal that's going to be the perfect fit for you.
Sure. And you guys have something really cool called, it's First Contact, right?
Yeah.
Where someone can say, hey, I'm really interested in, or I know that this is the type of dog or the kind of dog I want, and you guys will contact them when that dog comes in. Is that correct?
Yeah, so our First Contact service that's sponsored by Animal Care Clinic here in Lexington is, we kind of call it our online dating for dogs. So you go on, you fill out online on our website, you can fill out the application, and you tell us everything that you're looking for in a dog. So if you have a specific age range, if you have specific characteristics like, I have small children, so they have to be good with kids, or you're looking for even a specific breed, you just kind of fill that in the application, and then we create a profile for you. And then we have a dedicated employee who's our First Contact coordinator, and she goes through every dog that comes in. She goes and evaluates them, and she says, I have the perfect match for this dog, and she'll contact you, and you can come out and you get first dibs and first lookies at the dog to see if it's the perfect fit for you. And if so, then you get to take them home. And if not, we keep you in our system, and maybe, there's another dog or cat or any kind of animal that you're looking for that comes through, and that's your perfect match. Yeah, so it's a really cool program, and we've had a lot of success with it.
That's really wonderful.
It is. That's super cool.
And what do you think? I know that sometimes there are a lot of myths about shelter dogs or shelter cats, that they end up here because they have problems. And I've had rescue dogs all my life, and they've all been wonderful and sweet, and certainly, not surrendered or become a stray through any fault of their own. But can you just tell people a little bit about some of those myths and why they're not true?
Yeah, so it is a big myth. And I mean, there's even the myth that, shelters and humane societies don't get in purebred dogs, which is another great thing about our First Contact service, is we draw in a lot of people who would have gone to breeders because they're looking for that specific breed of dog. And, in the time that I've been here, I've seen full-bred huskies and Dobermans and Dachshunds and poodles and, all sorts of dogs. So, it really is a myth that we don't get those full-bred breeds into the Humane Society. And then, like you said, the myth about all the animals that come in here are broken. That's very, very not true. A lot of times, people are just unable to care for their animals anymore, and that's how they end up here, or they become lost, or their owners moved away and left them behind, that sort of thing. So it's definitely, not something that they've done that ends them up here. It's just, the circumstances of having a lot of animals in the world, and, we're very lucky that we're here to be able to take care of them and find them a new home. So
yeah, it's really wonderful. And one of the things I noticed, Alexa and I walked around and we had to look at the doggies, of course, and the kitties. Yes. One of the things I noticed you guys had was the Adoptable program, which I thought was really neat. Can you tell people a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have the Adoptable program. We also have the Trainable program. So they kind of go a little bit hand in hand. So our Trainable program is we have a staff member who runs it, and then we have volunteers that come in, and they're partnered with some of our stronger breeds of dogs that we have here. And they come in and they spend at least 1 to 2 days a week with them, and they teach them, leash training. They do crate training. They do their basic obedience, so they know how to sit and stay and lay down. Just, all the things that when you adopt a dog, you hope that they already know, right? Because, training a dog is half the battle once you take them home. So these dogs,
are pit bulls, right? Or pit mixes?
Yes. So we call them, our bully breeds or, stronger breeds. And it is, something that happens a lot that, people see them and they don't show very well in their kennels because they're so big and they're just so excited. Mm-hmm. They have so much energy. And people, see that as aggression when in fact it's just, they're just very happy and they want to be out and play and, be with people. And so going through the Trainable program really helps them, gives them that skill set that says, hey, I'm really smart. I know how to do these things. And that really helps, when adopters come in to look at them. So in our first year of the Trainable program, we adopted out 100 trainable dogs through that program. Yeah. So it's been,
wonderful.
it's been a huge success, and we're growing it every year, and we're really loving it.
Yeah, and in my experience, I have a bully breed dog, bully breed mix, and a lot of people sort of shy away from them. And in my experience, my dog is a sweet, eager to please guy, and yes, lots of energy, like you said, but for the right family, they're great dogs.
Yeah, and it's really about, more the dog themselves than their breed, because any breed of dog can, come out not liking anything. So it's more about the dog itself than, the breed of dog that they are. So that's kind of what we hope people kind of look at when they come to look at the dog. That's why we have them partner with our, adoption specialists, so that they get more of the characteristics rather than, I want my dog to look like this specific.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
Absolutely, Alexa.
So how can people go about finding more out about adopting? Is your website the best option for that?
Yeah, so adoptlove.net is our website. On our website, we have all of our animals that are up for adoption. So when they go on our website, we have a big button that says adopt, and when you click on that, you can choose from the dogs or cats or our other small animals, so our bunnies and guinea pigs and rabbits, that sort of stuff. So all of our animals are listed on there. All of them most of the time have photos. So you can kind of see the dog that you're looking at as well, or cat. And we have, their age on there. We don't put as much information on the website as we do on their cards if you were to come in and look at them. But you kind of get the basic idea, their breed, that sort of thing on our website. So yeah, you can definitely check us out there.
Do you guys see a lot of success? I know you keep a very active Facebook page. Whenever you feature dogs on your Facebook page, does that pretty much guarantee an adoption?
Oh yeah, our Facebook fans are the greatest. We love them. When we post a picture of an animal, everybody loves to see cute animals on their news feed. So we try to post at least one cute animal every day. That's why we do the naming contest. That we try to keep the community engaged with what we're doing, because obviously they're huge supporters of us. We couldn't do what we do without them. So we try to keep them as engaged as possible, and it definitely helps. It gives that dog a boost up for sure.
It works on me, I have to say. I have a dog who does not need another dog at all with her, and every time I'm just like, maybe Lucy would like this one.
Maybe just one more.
It would not fly. Not with Lucy.
If people are maybe in a situation where they either can't adopt another animal right now, or maybe they just don't feel like they're ready for another animal, what are some other ways they can support you guys?
Yeah, so we have lots of ways that the community can come out and help us. So we have our volunteer program. We have volunteer orientation training every month. That's another thing that you can find on our website. So you just sign up for that. Once you go through the training with our volunteer coordinator, you can come out and you can help us with all sorts of things. So we have 5 major fundraising events throughout the year that you can help with. We have smaller community events that we participate in that you can help with. There's also pet partnering. So if you're wanting to get that one-on-one with the animals but don't want to take an animal home yourself, our volunteers are our greatest resource for, giving our animals that extra enrichment that we just don't have the time to give them because we have so many animals to care for. So that's definitely an option. We also have, if you want animals in your home but you don't want to keep them forever, we have a great foster care program. Spring is coming up, so we're starting to get in a lot of kittens. Now is our kitten season, so soon we'll be full to bursting with moms and babies and all sorts of fun things. And our fosters, we really depend on them to be able to, get the space to take care of all of these animals. So they take the kittens for a while, take care of them, feed them, give them all their needs that they, need, and then they bring them back when they're ready to be spayed or neutered and put up for adoption. So foster care is also a really wonderful way that the community can kind of get involved with us. And then, of course, there's, if you want to do a fundraiser for us, host a community event, all that sort of stuff. There's plenty of ways to get involved.
My mother's a chronic foster fail. She's had 4 or 5 foster fails over the years.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, that would be me if I tried to do that. I'm fairly certain. So what's one thing that you wish people knew about before they came in adopting an animal? Is there any one thing that people kind of come in thinking that you wish that they...
I guess in my experience, I wish people would take the time to really think about whether they want a pet or not. We have, with our adoption process that we have, we've had a lot of success with making sure that people are actually prepared for having an animal. But it is really sad when you see, an animal go home and then a month later you see it back on the adoption floor because their owners that adopted them decided they really weren't ready for a pet. So I guess the biggest thing that I wish people would think about is a pet the right fit for me right now? Obviously things happen, and that, we understand that if there's, circumstances that come up and you can no longer care for your animal, but, an animal is a lifelong commitment for that animal's life. So it's really, for me, it's really important that people think that through and decide, I'm ready to commit to this. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else about the Lexington Humane Society that you want library listeners to know about?
I don't want to say no, because I feel like there's got to be something that they can know about. No, I think it's just important that they realize, we're a nonprofit that relies solely on our community. We don't receive any funds from, the government or any other agencies such as that. So we really, our Lexington community is what keeps us afloat. And so without them, we wouldn't be able to do all the amazing things that we do. And so I guess the biggest thing that I, want everybody to know is that we appreciate them and all that they do. And, we hope that we continue to do a good job and they continue to support us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Alexa here. I just wanted to pop in and say thank you again so much for listening to this episode of the Checked Out podcast. We really hope that you enjoyed the format this time of us discussing the book a little bit and then jumping into our interview that we did with the Lexington Humane Society. We hope you keep sticking with us and listening and downloading our podcast. Again, it does really help us out if you listen to it on our website or iTunes. Give us a rating and subscribe. We want to know that you're listening and that you're enjoying the podcast. Give us some feedback. We always want to hear from everyone. And don't forget again about our program that we're going to do this summer for Discover Summer at the library. It'll be at Eastside Branch July 15th, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We hope to see you guys there. Thanks.